All right, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton. I want to thank you all for joining us today here, Lions Talk Live morning show edition. And you know what? We are just days away from the NFL draft, and I'm not sure if anybody watching is aware, but this might be a bit of an event for NFL fans everywhere. Obviously, we're hosting it in the city of Detroit, and you know what? Hey, I'm going to guess more than a few of you in the Duke crew are going to be over there watching it, either live or if you can't make it live, you'll be watching it. Glued your TV sets for 3 days this weekend, taking it all in. Is Detroit going to trade up? Are we going to trade back? Are we going to stay pat? Who knows? Maybe we'll avoid even making a selection. Maybe Brad Holmes just says, you know what, this team's good enough. We'll let the NFL try to catch up to us. All will be revealed in just days. As you can tell from the thumbnail here within, we're going to have a special guest from Mlives join us here in about 14 minutes. That's Matt Ehler with Mlives. And you know what? He's somebody I've gotten to know a little bit over the last 6 months or so. So Matt's going to come on in, talk about the Detroit Lions. He's a bit of a fan. He's going to come on in and give us his inside perspective on the Detroit Lions and all things Lions related. He's been a reporter for Mlives for some time, and again, he's going to come on out and share his thoughts. Don't forget, Duke Crew members, if you're wanting to come out tomorrow night, 6 to 7 p.m., Stadium Drive Liquor Store in Kalamazoo, you can see both myself and the Sarge, Tony Libretto, out there. And you know what? We're going to be doing our normal annual pre-draft breakdown of the Detroit Lions and our anticipated moves. See what the Sarge has to say. Come out and see Richie, Mandy, Mom, and the family as we do it over there on Stadium Drive. It's right next to the 131 and 94 intersection. So anybody who wants to make the pilgrimage over, it's a pretty easy drive to get in and out of there. Last but not least, we've got another guest coming on Thursday morning. So we'll do a little bit more pre-draft announcements and breakdowns as we progress into the event that is Thursday night and the kickoff of the NFL draft. All right. Real quick, though, you guys know the normal formalities here. If you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so, making that push to get to 6,500 subs. Hard for me to believe that that's the case, but 6,500 subs. And you know what? We're about 80 subs away, so if you can help out with that, would be great. Also, if you enjoy the content here within the videos or other videos, don't be afraid to hit that thumbs up button. We're trying to get every video to about 200 subs. Really helps push the content out. Last but never least, just because, you know, I'm a working man, I enjoy my 5,000 different jobs and having about 15 minutes of off time per day. If you're looking to buy or sell property anywhere in the great state of Michigan, give me a call or shoot me a text. You see the number on the screen, 269-998-2384. Let me use over 30 years of experience with the industry to your behest, save you some money on that purchase of property, and they'll try to make the experience as good as possible for you. All right, welcome to Lions Talk Live. Let's see what the Duke Crew's got to say this morning. I'm going to guess all eyes are on the draft, and everybody's pretty worked up about it. All right, JDC, good morning, all. Good morning to you, JDC. Bo, good morning, Duke Crew, Superdome or bust 100%, and good morning to you. Bo, I was up late last night with Crunch Timers, and Jeff and Adam, did a mock draft. They traded to 12 and took a cornerback. Who would you take if the trade happens? If it's me, boy, Bo, I guess it would depend on who's on the board, but I'm probably more interested in building the line, so it's either going to be an offensive lineman or defensive lineman. Probably if he's on the board, it's going to be Dallas Turner, Verse, or Latua at that point. But man, trading up that far, you're giving up a lot of draft capital without question. Drops, the first woo of the show. Good morning to you. Brent, good morning, Coach and Duke Crew. Lions are future back-to-back NFC North champs. Exclamation point. 100%. And good morning to you, Brent. Moonscar, good morning, Coach and Duke Crew. Exclamation points. Excitement and anticipation building. What's up, JDC, Bo, and Trumps? There you go. Bo, shooting for the moon. Yes, all Lions fans are at this point. Hookadoo, good morning, Don Burr. This woo's for you. Jen gave me an update, by the way. The Woo Do Crew t-shirts should be ready. She's thinking about it this weekend, so I'll let you guys know, and you can go over to the store lionstalklive.com and order your gear, your mug, or whatever it is that you want, maybe a sweatshirt or whatever. Go ahead and give it an order. Lions fan number one, greetings, salutations, Bo, Moon, Trumps, 2 more days to go, exclamation point. Woo! Boy, yeah, Don Burr's loving this at this point. Moonscar, ha, nice, love it, 100%. Dennis, good morning, Dan and Do Crew. Back at you, Dennis. Hopefully having a great one this morning. JDC, here's a small woo. There you go. Steve Rogers, Captain America at JDC, a baby woo. Yes, it is. JDC, then for Dan, or Don, excuse me. Woo! There you go. Extended. Steve Rogers, greetings and salutations, everyone. Bo, what did they give up to move up to number 12? Damn, that's a hell of a move up. Yeah, a little bit of a one. To be curious to see what they had to do. And it's good to see Jeff and Adam back on the Lions beats covering things again. See, Bo, sounds like a bunch of voodoo. There you go. Yes, it is a bunch of voodoo. All right, Bo, I think involved a couple of 2025 second and thirds. Whew, that's a lot to give up. But I get it. If the right player's there, I mean, if Brad Holmes really believes, him and the scouting department have done a deep dive on this, and they think player A is the person, the real McCoy, the person that's going to help elevate this team, potentially take him to another NFC North championship and the Super Bowl, it's hard to go against it then. All right, Drake, what do you got? Good morning, all. We are getting all fancy on the show, getting Main Street media people to come on the show. Yes, we are. Hey, we're upgrading a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Let's see, Robert G. Good morning, Dan and crew, 100%. Good morning, Robert. Trumps, woo! Again, there you go. Hookadoo. Good morning, Coach and the fellow Do crew members and woo crew members. Yes, there we go. Man, we're starting a whole another crew. Big Eddie, greetings and salutations. Any guesses how far we move up the draft board Thursday? I'm thinking 19 for Latua. You know, he's one of the guys that can fall, and I know there are some teams that have less than ideal grades on him just because of the prior neck injury, some of the nerve expected injury that's occurred there. But anybody who's going to draft him has done their due diligence for this kid. They've had a complete medical evaluation done by their crew and maybe even an off-site crew as well to get a non-biased opinion or a neutral observer's opinion. So if they're going to, any team that's going to invest a first-round pick, I don't care if it's number 1 or number 32, yeah, they've spent quite a bit of money looking into his injuries, and they're going to feel completely comfortable with him before they make that selection. Trump's man, woo! Again, yes. Jason, Superdome or bust all, 100%. And I agree with you. Good to see you on here this morning, my friend. David, undefeated season or nope. There you go. No pressure there at all. Burger time. Good morning, Dan. 3 more days. Woo! Yes, 100%. And yeah, man. How many of you guys are going to the draft? I know that's going to be one of the big questions probably facing a lot of people. Do you want to make the drive over there? Because let's face it, there's a real chance. I'd say it's at least 50-50 that Brad Holmes and the Lions trade out of the first round. If they do that, you know, and are you going to be okay with making that drive over there? If you're not, then you probably shouldn't go. But you guys have heard me for months now. I just think it's going to be really hard for them to house 6, 7, 8 players from the rookie class if they make some trade downs and pick up some additional picks and put them on this year's team where 1, they're going to be on the 53-man roster, and 2, can he hide them on the practice squad? Because this team is so stacked this year. There's just, I think there's so many teams in this league, this particular upcoming season, that are in rebuilds. They're looking for players, especially young, cheap players, to put on their squad to try to get them some developmental time, get them some reps. I just think anybody the Lions draft and put on that squad is probably going to be gone fairly quick. All right, Burke time. Good morning, Hookadoo. Good morning to you, too. Let's see. Bo, undefeated playoffs is what counts. Getting the first seed leads to getting over the Hillary step, hosting the NFC Championship game. I think, man, if you can get home field advantage, if you can have that number 1 seed, then you know what? This team's really stacked well. And you know what? Hosting it like we all saw in last year's playoffs, it was a massive home field advantage with that crowd, the elements, everybody out there. Yeah, I agree that it would be a huge step for us. Hookadoo, hey, Burger, morning, brother. Good morning to you too, Hookadoo. And the Bergs. Let's see, Jess, I'll second that. Bo Booth, I don't care what we do in the season as long as we make the playoffs and then go undefeated. Yeah, get the Super Bowl. And I think all eyes are on the Super Bowl this year. Lynn, good morning, Duke Crew. Good morning to you too. Excuse me, Jess. Excuse me. Robert G. Trade the 29th and a 4th round pick to Denver for Patrick Surtain. Man, that would be nice. How complete of a secondary would that be? If there's any chance, I think for this is one thing really going for Detroit or any team trying to get Patrick Surtain. There's such an opportunity for Denver to move up into, say, the top 5 or 6 picks of this year's draft to get one of the legit quarterbacks. I think they're going to need another first round pick in order to achieve that. If they can acquire that, whether it's from Detroit or whoever, now they've got the firepower, I believe, to move up to potentially 5, maybe even 4 to get a quarterback, one of the young ones that they're going to build around that Sean Payton thinks, hey, this is the guy for us. And I know he had a quote earlier this week about he's not interested in trying to get the highest graded quarterback. He wants the right quarterback for this team, just like any player. You want the right person for your systems. All right, Hookadoo, good morning, Jess. There you go. Let's see, Malcolm, good morning, all. Any new trade rumors? None that I'm really aware of. 2 days out, let's hear them. Yeah, there's nothing new that I can think of that has any real weight to it. I know there's tons of rumors flying. You guys have heard me talk for a few weeks now, talking with some of my Detroit area media friends. It seems like it's pretty much been confirmed by Sports Illustrated and different individuals, different outlets for a while. The Lions have been making a lot of calls and developing a lot of relationships with teams, setting up potential trade options and opportunities if the right players should fall into the teens, whether it's the middle of the teen, late teens, early teens. That's what we'll have to find out. Now, Brad Holmes, I think he has kind of shown his cards a little bit, what they're going to potentially look at. What I try to do when I evaluate a general manager is what did they do in the offseason? I think we all agree they brought in a lot of good talent this year, but a lot of that talent, as we all know, are on one-year deals. It is my anticipation going into the Thursday's draft. You're going to see the Lions target offensive line. You're going to see them target edge. And you're going to see them target cornerbacks. And my logic is you look at the contracts for the players they brought in, they're all one-year deals. And not you could argue that they're prove-it deals for sure, but I think you're putting them there so any rookie that comes into this year's team, which you might be targeting the first, second, or third round, really are not forced into starting spots. They have to earn their snaps. And that's why I believe those will be the 3 targeted premium positions for the Detroit Lions this upcoming season, just because of what you did or didn't do this offseason. All right, Bo, Quentin Mitchell, Terry and Arnold, and Patrick Surtain. Yeah, if he can get all 3, I like our chances. All right, Moonscar, Bo, if we make a move up that far, giving up some higher round future capital and having look at film highlights that everyone looks good in, I think it would have to be edge Jared Verse. He's an intriguing one to me because his 3-step and his rip moves, his up and unders, he's pretty good. I think he does a lot of things incredibly well. I just don't think if he does anything splash, jump off the page, off the video well. But, that's my opinion. The only one I think that there's 2 players on the edge that I think have that wow factor. One of them is Dallas. The other one, as you guys know, in my opinion, is the kid from Western Michigan University. That's Marshawn Nealon. He's got some of that wow factor. He just needs a lot more development, in my opinion. Obviously, the Lions have the ability to get probably Nealon easier than they do Turner. And it's nothing against Latua or Verse or anything. I think they're both very sound players. They just lack the wow from what I've seen. All right, Moonscar, if Verse is there at 12, yeah, I would not be disappointed in any way, shape, or form if we took him there. All right, let's see. Just Say K, good morning, all. Any chance we get Turner? You guys think, would you need to trade up a bit? I'm thinking you would. Yes, you would have to give up quite a bit to go up there and get him. All right, Moonscar, TR, fair enough. Mike the Marine, howdy, Dan, Lions faithful. Do your part. Thumbs up. Yes. Woo! There you go. If you haven't yet to hit the thumbs up button or the subscribe button, please consider doing so. All right. It is 7:15, so we're going to bring a guest onto the show here. Matt, how you doing this morning?
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on. It's a couple of days away from the NFL draft. It's kind of crazy to think about. We're almost here.
So, Matt, if you look at last year's Detroit Lions team, how would you summarize their season in a whole going into this offseason?
I mean, obviously, it's heartbreak in the NFC Championship game, right? But that's arguably the best Lions season of my young life. But you couldn't have asked for anything more. I mean, you win the division for the first time in 30 years. Jared Goff has a sensational season. You win some big time games, and you put yourself into the conversation to win the title this year. So I mean, it was just an exciting season, and the coordinators all come back.
Right.
I mean, it's pretty much all you could ask for. And it shows that, the coaching staff, everybody, they're all committed to turning this ship around and really, making Detroit a contender and for a long time. So I thought it was just an incredible season. And just sets up a really exciting offseason and a lot of momentum here to really, have a replicative kind of season. So it was awesome.
Oh, man. I mean, those playoff wins, I mean, I get I'm an old timer, but yeah, actually seeing the Lions get a playoff win for the second time in my life, I'm guessing I'm like most Lions fans. You went into that playoff game thinking, man, maybe it could happen, but just because you've been let down so many times, to actually see it happen, that was something. Mm-hmm. All right, so here's a question I got for you, Matt. What do you think hosting the draft means to the city of Detroit? How big of an opportunity is this for the city, the franchise? You talked a little bit about the team kind of changing things around and going in a new direction. How large of an opportunity is this for them?
I think it's huge, right? I mean, especially, off of last year and what Brad Holmes did in the draft, and, so many critics talking about how initially, taking too many big swings on players that, shouldn't have gone where they ended up landing. But I think it's just overall an exciting opportunity to host the draft, to be there, and to represent the city. It's almost perfect the way it kind of shook out for the entire NFL to see what we're about. And it's going to be interesting what Holmes does. There's so many, different rumors and stuff out there. Should he trade up? Should he trade back? But overall, I think, for them in the city, it's just an incredible opportunity, and it's something that's should be celebrated just off of the season that they had. So yeah, I think Detroit's going to be rocking. I think traffic's going to be crazy. Best of luck to anybody who wants to go out there. It's going to be. I think it's going to be a party, man. I think Detroit's ready to celebrate and ready to show off their exciting football team.
You mentioned that nobody really knows if Detroit's going to, trade up, trade back, trade left, right, or whatever. So I'm going to put you under a little bit of pressure here. If you're Brad Holmes, you're running this team on Thursday night, or let's just say, let's stick to Thursday night for now. Would you make the trade up? Would you make a trade back? And if you're trading up, who are you going after? No pressure here.
Man, dude, I like trading back here. I don't know. I think there's a lot of opportunity to get some really solid players, in the second or third round. But if they do decide to trade up, I think it's going to be cornerback. I think there's some really big time players, both Arnold and I think from Alabama. You know how Holmes he drafted Jahmyr Gibbs and Brian Branch last year. So, he likes those Alabama guys. And I know there's a lot of talk about how Arnold doesn't have great 40 time, but just had excellent route recognition at Bama. So I could see him, reaching for there, or the kid out of Toledo, Mitchell. He looks like he's a little bit raw, but has a lot of top end speed and playmaking skills. So I think they would take corner if they traded up. But man, I like trading down, and I got to see, if they do decide to trade down, I should say, I got to see firsthand how explosive. And I know you've come on this show and talked about him, Marshawn Nealon out of Western Michigan.
Yeah.
I think he could do a lot of good things for this team, and that's where I really hope Detroit takes a swing on, is just getting someone out opposite side of Aiden Hutchinson to complement him. And Marshawn has shown, I watched him at several home games, because I covered Western Michigan, and he can line up in a lot of different areas, and I love his versatility. And he's just really, it's amazing to see how much he's climbed here in this draft, process. And so many other teams, he's visited. I was talking with him at Western Michigan spring game over this past weekend. And, he said, I can't really think, maybe there's two teams that, I haven't talked to, either via Zoom or anything like that. So his name is out there, and I think he's one of those players that could be, late first round, early second day. And I think maybe if the Lions trade back into the second round, I think they should take Marshawn Nealon.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Matthew. Just as a scout, and obviously I don't scout for the NFL or anything, but one of our jobs, at least when I'm usually sent out to evaluate different players, is the first thing you look for in we'll say the first 15, 20 minutes you watch somebody is, do they pop off the page for you, off the video, or in this case, in person? When you go out there, do they clearly separate from the vast majority of the other people, either on the field, the court, or whatever, sport you're evaluating for? When I watched Nealon, and I did a little bit, we'll say a week or two ago, I did a scouting breakdown with the Dew crew on Marshawn Nealon, and gave my reasoning why I think when the draft process started, we'll just say 2-3 months ago, as far as when the season ended and everybody really started dialing into prospects, he probably had we'll say late third to maybe mid third round grade on him. But I think once teams started interviewing him, started getting a hold of his personality traits, started paying attention to his, his 3-step technique, or his 3-step explosion in football, just a lot of the things a coach can't teach. And it's all there with that kid, in my opinion. He's got such upper body mass and strength, especially for someone his size. He can displace and win leverage over people incredibly easy. He might not have the best, 40-yard time for a defensive end or outside backer, but he makes up for it so much with lateral quickness and things of that sort. I compare him in some ways to Jack Campbell, who the Lions drafted last year. Maybe not the most end-line speed gifted human being out there, but everywhere else he's off the chart. So you've been able to watch him in person, talk to him and such. What makes him so stand outish to you? What makes him pop off the page?
I think number one, just his, like you kind of touched on, just like his personality, man. I think he's just like a great, individual that just wants to be in a position to thrive, and he'll do anything to help the team win. Yeah. And that kind of really showed with, his defensive coordinator, Lou Esposito, last year. I mean, he lined him up everywhere, and he didn't say a peep. And so, I think just his mold would really fit well in Detroit, and his personality, but just like his pure size, man, that really kind of popped off the page for me. Just the way he's built, and then the way that he moves is really surprising. And to me, I mean, just watching his pro day and the way he was able to move through some of those cone drills, it really popped for me. And he can just really kind of disrupt an entire game plan for you. I mean, he did that against Eastern Michigan. I think he had like 2 sacks, 2 safeties, a strip fumble, a strip sack, I should say,
You're right.
all in that one game. So he just has that kind of, I don't know, just changed the entire complexion of a game and really kind of, just take over. Um, yeah, I think he could really do some fun stuff in that Aaron Glenn defense, because Glenn likes to use players that have a lot of versatility,
Yep.
especially with the nickel packages with Branch, and lining them up everywhere. So I don't know. I like the way that he moves for his size, and I know that he stood out in some of the small cone drills. The way he was able to move, I think it was one of the best for the defensive lineman in this draft. So
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think if the Lions were to select him, the way they manipulate the defensive lineman on a lot of different setups, I think fits what he does well. Like you alluded to, is some of his lateral quickness or shuttle quickness, because they use so many stunts and pulls with the defensive lineman instead of just bull rushing in. That's where I think he'd be really effective. All right. And the other part I would throw out there is, if Lions fans watching, or everybody watching this, remembers what the Lions did to Aaron Donald in the playoff game, where basically they doubled or triple teamed him most of the time. That's pretty much what Nealon went through throughout most of the season. Most offensive lines were heavily favored on containing him. It was that's why some of his numbers aren't the greatest. You're facing double or triple teams, 70% of the time. You're probably not going to break free a lot. All right, moving on from Nealon, though, just real quick, I got a question for you. Let's see, where do I have it here on the board? Teams makes a choice, a number of players regarding contracts. Are you resigning? This will be a bit of a game show. Sorry, I don't have game show music queued up here. All right. Are you resigning Jared Goff?
yes, I 100%, dude. I mean, the way he's coming off this last season, arguably one of his best seasons of his career. He's shown that he's took that next step in developing as a quarterback, and he's making smart decisions. Granted, he's not going to have the kind of out of the pocket maneuverability of Lamar Jackson, or what you're going to get with Jared Goff. And the way he's, I think, been able to make the reads over the middle and make some nice throws, and he's been able to toss in some off kilter throws, particularly last year to Jamison Williams. He made a nice touchdown throw in that Tampa Bay game that kind of popped for me. But yeah, I think you do re-sign him. I think he's done really well, and Brad Johnson has done an excellent, or Ben Johnson has done an excellent job of mixing in the play action for him, and just making him, like I said, kind of evolve here as a quarterback. And I think he loves this city. He's even though he's not, he said some things recently about the Detroit media. But I think other than that, I think he was poking fun a little bit. But other than that, man, I love Jared Goff, and I think that the city of Detroit does too. After those, chants in Ford Field in the playoffs, that was awesome. So yes, I'm with it.
All
Right.
right.
Let's sign him.
I'm on Ross St. Brown.
100%. Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes, please, man. Keep him locked down in Motor City for life. He just embodies Detroit. He's just a tough, gritty receiver that doesn't drop passes, and he's coming into the prime of his career. You have to hold him down. Yeah, I think he's changing his number this year to 8, but going back to the USC days. But yeah, I you got to keep him. You have to.
Taylor Decker.
Oof. This is
now
a tough one.
Tough.
This is tough, dude.
Right.
Ah, man. I say so. He's done so much for this city. He's been through it. Obviously, you see it in his interviews. He
Yeah.
gets emotional talking about it. He just bleeds Detroit, and yeah, I obviously he's coming into the back end of his career. What is he? Early 30s now. So it gets a little, yeah, but for an offensive lineman, I mean, it's not like you're gonna need, the same kind of quickness, or they can rely more on their cerebral stuff to get,
Right.
through the offensive line stuff. So yeah, I say you keep him. I know you can't sign everybody or keep everybody, but he's been such a great piece to this rebuild and this turnaround. And yeah, I think he's just a powerful offensive lineman that can stay even if he doesn't start anymore. He's such a valuable piece for veteran experience, and he's just been through it here. So,
Yes, man.
what about you, Dan? What do you think about that? Do you want to re-sign him?
Taylor, I mean, if I was to go through the list, yes, I'm resigning Goff, St. Brown, Taylor Decker. Unfortunately, no, just
Okay.
because you can't re-sign everybody. Age starts coming into it. To me, I've talked about it on the morning show a little bit. He's had this ankle injury since college. He's getting it fixed now, and I get maybe it was just the right time for it, but I also think it's no coincidence he's doing it towards the back end of his career when he's on a contract year. He's trying to play as well as he can for a limited amount of time to try and entice either the Lions or another team into signing him. If I'm the Lions, I probably am looking for his replacement. Now, whether that's Panay Sewell, I'm swinging over there and just putting in a right tackle over there. That remains to be seen. But yeah, I love Dex, to a ton. He's been through the down times, but at the end of the day, this is still a business, and
Yeah.
you got to remove emotions from it. You've got to make the best choice for the team, not the individual. I think most Lions fans would like to see him retire a Lion. He is Mr. Lion. Like you said, he gets emotional. He's been through the down times. And there's still a few of the guys that are left over from the Quinn Trisha regime that was in the dark times for the franchise. But it is what it is at the end of the day. Can you invest that much money into a player that you're not 100% sure is going to be able to play at a high level for a significant portion of that contract? I'm probably looking to move on.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here's another tough one for you. Aleem McNeil.
Man, such a run stuffer. Man. Well, since I've signed 3 players already, I don't know. I think, this would be someone that I could see moving on from, even though he's done so well, to start his career. I think this draft, there's been a lot of mocks for us to take a defensive tackle, and the way we just signed a free agent out of Cincinnati that I'm blanking on his name, that's going to be instrumental for us.
Reader. Yeah,
Yes, DJ Reader. Yeah, I think with that signing, I think this is an opportunity maybe to move on, even though he's done some really good things, especially last year. I thought he came on strong.
He did.
But yeah, this might be the end for McNeil in my opinion.
So what you're seeing with all these is that, and this isn't even a complete list of players that we have on an expiring contract. I mean, I want to say 30 to almost 40% of the team are on the last years of a deal or 1 year prove it deal. So we're going to have to make some hard choices with some stuff. Here's the next one. Ife Melifanu.
Oh, I love this guy. Yeah, keep him. He's man, just out of nowhere, just came on last year, and especially with CJ Gardner-Johnson being out for most of the season, he played outstanding. I mean, he won that game against Minnesota at the end of the season for us with that big time interception.
Yep.
Yeah, man, he's really evolved in this Aaron Glenn defense, and a lot of versatility I see with him, and able to come up and make the tackle and in space. And yeah, I really like this guy. That's somebody that I might be buying a jersey, maybe here this season. that new black might look slick, So
Right.
yeah.
All right. Here's one that anybody who's watched the show knows. I think this guy is going to be the starting defensive end opposite Aiden Hutchinson. I just think while he has some weaknesses from a physical and performance standpoint, usually against running plays, I just think he is one of the biggest freak of nature athletes you're going to see, whether it's in this year's season or throughout the NFL for years to come. And that would be James Houston himself. What are your thoughts? Can't keep them all, man.
Yeah, and he showed, in that small stint of time a couple of years ago, that he can really get after the quarterback. The way he's able to kind of maneuver his body and duck underneath offensive linemen. Yeah, he's got talent, but just the injury last year and the way they kind of, I don't know, were very. I mean, it was a significant injury, but
It was.
the way they were really cautious about bringing him back. Yeah, I think you move on from Houston. I don't know. In my perfect world, you're drafting somebody this year to replace him. I just think that he hasn't proved it all the way. I know there's been, splashes of it.
Yep.
But I think this is the opportunity to maybe go in a different direction in the draft and to maybe take Marshawn Nealon. I'm a big guy on him. So.
There you go. Nice way to get back to Nealon. All right, a couple more questions here, and then I'll let you off the hot seat. Biggest threat to Detroit winning the North is?
I mean, it's got to be Green Bay, right? I know that Chicago's got momentum, but the way Green Bay came into the playoffs and really, I mean, they should have won that game against San Francisco, in the playoffs if Jordan Love doesn't make that, interception throw at the end of the game. Yeah, they're dangerous. I think Jordan Love is their quarterback, their next quarterback in that carousel that they just kind of build up. And man, yeah, and they signed Josh Jacobs in the offseason, so they've got their running back and they've got some young, talented wide receivers. Their defense is sporadic at times, but it really kind of came on late last year. And yeah, I think Green Bay is going to be our biggest threat. And the way, the quarterback position is so valuable, especially if you can, extend plays like Jordan can and his arm talent. I think that's going to be our biggest threat. And man, I think it's going to be a fun season with us duking it out there at the top. It's going to be.
I'm with you. I think Jordan Love really came on. You could tell about the middle of the season. He calmed down a little bit. Maybe the OC figured out some of his, do's and don'ts, what he does well at that point in his career. And I agree with you. I think Green Bay is going to be the number one threat. So segue into the next question. Name the teams, however many you want, Detroit will need to beat in the NFC to make their first ever Super Bowl this season. Who are the big threats?
Man, okay. I would say Philadelphia is going to be back and strong the way they've attacked this offseason. I think Green Bay is going to be right there. Outside of that, the NFC South, I don't trust anybody in the NFC South. I don't know. I'm not 100% certain on San Francisco being back this year. I don't know. I don't like what they did in the offseason so far. So man, I think Philadelphia and Green Bay are the two that really stick out to me. Outside of that, I don't know. I think we're in pretty good position. I don't know. What do you think, Dan?
I think San Francisco, it's just my opinion, but I think this is probably it for them this year. So if they don't get back to the NFC title game with the Super Bowl, I think they're going to face a real hard time from here on out. They've invested a lot of draft capital over recent years to acquire some players, and some of them haven't worked out. They're also got Brock Purdy's contract. I think this is the last year of his rookie deal. Somebody can let me know in the comment section, but I think that's right. So now he's going to have to get paid, which means you have a whole lot less money to spend on other guys. Plus, the bulk of their team is getting up into that high 20s as far as years of age, where guys start, just the body start changing. They've had a heck of a run for the last 5 seasons, getting to Super Bowls, to the NFC title game. It just, unfortunately for them, it hasn't led to a Super Bowl. Philadelphia, they've got a lot of talent. They've just got to be able to rebound from whatever happened last year. Green Bay, to me, I've already made my prediction going into the season, and obviously a lot could change between now and the start of the season, let alone the end of the season. I think it's going to be Detroit versus Green Bay in the NFC title game. That's my particular opinion. All right. One last question. I'll let you out of here. Is since we nearly made the Super Bowl last year, and it comes right from one of the Duke crew members, Donkey Kong, is this season Super Bowl or bust?
Oh man. Yeah, I think so. I think you've already you've set that expectation that you're on the doorstep now, and I mean we should have been in that Super Bowl if not for that second half meltdown. So this is our time. Let's stand up, Detroit. Let's go. I mean, we've got a loaded roster. Our offense is insane right now at every position. I know we're going to, possibly add at offensive line and wide receiver, which we should in the draft. I think we need a wide receiver, a big bodied wide receiver to complement, especially with Josh Reynolds gone now. I think we need somebody that can go up and get contested catches and stretch the field opposite of Jamison Williams. But we have arguably one of the best tight ends in the league, young tight ends. I mean, Sam Laporte is a dog. He catches everything. And one of the best offensive lines, arguably one of the best running back rooms. And then you go on the defensive side, and the way we've been able to, kind of retool and and build from our secondary. That was obviously our weak spot last year. You go out and you get Carlton Davis out of Tampa Bay, you trade for him, and then Amik Robertson on the opposite side. That right there is already better than last year. So I think, adding another cornerback, this roster, I just get, fired up talking about it. It's just an exciting time to be a Lions fan. And this should be the expectation. I mean, yeah, the way we set the tone last year, we come in, we beat the defending Super Bowl champions on their home field. What kind of statement is, I mean, that's one of the best coaches in the NFL right now that's turned this whole thing around. I mean, who doesn't love playing for Dan Campbell? So yeah, I think this is the expectation now. This is our window, and shout out to Brad Holmes and Sheila Ford Hamp for believing and trusting, because it wasn't pretty at the beginning of this coaching resume, or the coach of this started this shift into Dan Campbell. But wow, what an exciting time to be a Lions fan right now. It's just fun. This is the first time in my lifetime, and I'm sure Dan, you've seen in the 90s, we had a nice run there, but this feels different. What do you think?
It does, man. I mean, back then I was in the late 80s, 90s, and even up until I want to say about 2010 or so, I covered the Lions for a number of different outlets. And, I've talked about it on this show with some of the fans that have been around for a long time. The 90s teams had tons of talent. They actually had a pretty decent general manager. The problem always felt like to me is there was a stark division from the front office to the coaching staff. They were rarely on the same page. And, off the record, sometimes one would throw the other under the bus. So whether it was the coaching staff saying, man, if only the front office would do this, and vice versa. You don't seem to have anything like that kind of division with this current regime. They're all seem to be on the same page. They're pedaling the bike in the same direction. People seem to trust what other people do in their specific windows. So nobody's seemingly stepping on toes saying, hey, even though you're the head coach or you're the head of pro scouting or college scouting or whatever it may be, I want you to do this. Instead, they leave each other alone and let each other do their respective jobs and have trust that they're going to provide the correct results at that spot. And I think that really shows up on draft day. Brad Holmes, like every general manager, they watch tape and everything, but that's really not their primary function. They make the final choices, but usually there's 3 to 4 scouts for a particular department. So college scouting or whatever, they present the reports, they sit down in the war room, have a meeting, and probably by today's Tuesday. So all meetings are off. Now they just let it marinate. And Brad Holmes has enough trust in whatever those reports are that he's not superseding anybody's opinions on those players. If he really feels these guys graded the guys right, and these are the top people on the board, and I don't know if you remember Matt Millen, but
oh yeah,
I got to talk to him once towards the end of his career, and right before the million man march, and he was very, very open about it. He said if he had one real regret about his regime there, it's that he listened to everybody else instead of listening to himself. He always let other people influence him from different parts of the team over what they thought would be the right move to do. Taking 29 receivers in straight drafts in the first round or whatever it was. He knew football. He just didn't listen to his gut. And it seems to be with Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, Aaron Glenn, or Chris Spielman, whatever, they listen to their gut. They go with it. Everybody provides information, and they trust those people are providing the correct information. So that's my quick take on it. But all right, why don't you tell everybody about yourself, where they can find you, and check out all your work.
All right. So I've been with Mlives. What's that?
Pump yourself up.
Yeah, no. I've been with Mlives in the Kalamazoo Gazette for just over a year now. I love it. I get to cover high school sports. I also get to cover Western Michigan athletics. And then the high school sports, it's around the greater Kalamazoo area. So it's about 30 plus high schools that I get to cover. Springtime right now, I get to cover all things like baseball, softball, girls soccer, track and field. Where you can find me at, you can find me on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at Matthew Ehler. You can type in my name through Mlive and just Matthew and the last name Ehler and Mlive, and you can find all of my latest stories. It's a fun job. I get to, cover sports for a living, get to take photos, get to write stories. I've had the privilege of covering, Dan's girls basketball team this past winter. And that was awesome. Got to do a couple of different stories on his team and really talented group. And it's a fun job. I don't consider it work. I love sports. It's my passion. And I see myself, continuing to do this for a very long time. And that's me. Grew up in Midland, Michigan, now out here in Southwest Michigan. But I went to Central Michigan University, graduated in 2018, and been doing the sports stuff ever since. So follow me on Twitter. Look me up on Mlive, and look out for more spring sports stories and Western Michigan stories here as the spring season rolls on.
All right. Well, Matthew, thank you again for coming on the show. We'll have to try to schedule a time for you to come on again, but check him out, mlive.com, Matthew Ehler. So go ahead and check out his news and information and stay abreast on everything he covers. So, Matt, thank you again for coming on the show. We'll see you on the next Lions Talk Live.
Hey, thank you very much, Dan, for this opportunity. And I got to give one Dew Crew shout out. Woo! Before we leave here, because I've been hearing it all morning. You started off with a bang, baby. So I got to get one out before I leave. No, thank you so much, Dan. I really appreciate this opportunity. It was awesome. And go Lions, baby. Let's go.
Go Lions. All right, man. We'll see you on the next one.
Peace.
All right. So thank you, Matthew, for checking this on out. Let's get back over to the Dew Crew. We got about 10 minutes here. JDC with the woo. There we go. Robert G. We're going to do reverse order here. Robert G. CMU is my neck of the woods. Yes, it is, I believe. Is that still you? Thank you. Phil, Rando, you a coach. Bo, I will say thank you, Matthew. Rando, me too, Phil. Phil, go Chips. There we go. Hey, as a former WMU coach, man, I don't know if I can ever support the Chips, although now I have a friend of mine who's the head coach of one of their basketball teams. And hey, gonna do a great job rebuilding that franchise. All right, Pierce, Bo, that's what I'm saying. Phil, Dan is the top coach in Kalamazoo area. Oh boy, I don't know about that. I just might be the craziest one. Hey, you can get a lot of things done when you think outside the box and do things nobody else is anticipating. All right, Bo, whoever Bears quarterback is, he'll be running for his life. I agree with that. I think unless the Bears really do some stuff to fix that offensive line, and you guys have heard us all talk about it for a while, I just think, man, you better keep that kid on the sideline until you can protect him. Either that or you're going to give that kid some real PTSD and potentially ruin a career before it ever has an opportunity to take off. All right, Randall, did anybody listen? I'm always listening to you, man. I know that. Pierce, nothing will change in Chicago until they get an offensive line. I agree with that. Bo, what do you got? Fungus not green. There you go. Hookadoo. Come on, broski. Who is your starting quarterback? Yogi Bear or Poo Poo Bear? I'll let broski worry about that one, man. Uncle Buzz, Bears may not this year, but look out for the next few years. Yeah, if they get some things right, they've definitely fixed some things on D. They've got some playmakers there. Now the offense has to come around. It's going to start with the quarterback, but again, if you can't run block, if you can't pass block, the running back, the wide receivers, the tight ends, and the quarterback don't matter, and you might get them might get their career shortened a little bit. JDC, just win the next game all the time, 100%. Focus on the next one, not 5 down the road. Silver Survey, yes, but in that KC game, they had no receiver, dropped everything, no Kelsey, and no all-world defensive tackle Jones. Lions barely won, but they are grown. They have grown a lot since then, as far as I can tell. Yeah, I mean, KC was missing some stuff for sure, but let's not forget the Lions were missing some stuff as well. So you got to take the good with the bad. And you know what? Hey, you're on the road, Super Bowl celebration night against the defending champs. You know, most people would say playing at home is a bit of an advantage for any NFL team. So the fact that Lions were able to do that, go in there and get the win, hey, nobody makes excuses when we're missing players. Don't do it for the other team. Randall, I say green as in the color of money. There you go. Willie Green, the color of money. That's an old school reference. Pierce, Bo, there you go. Bo, prison orange. All right, I'm missing something here. Pierce, Bo, I'm betting orange. Very good. Jeff, the North should be fire this season. Yeah, I think it's going to be one of the most competitive divisions in all the NFL, without question there, Def Jeff. All right, Bo, what do you got? Pierce, I bet it's back in black. There we go. JDC, Broski Bear, maybe not. All right. Pierce, is there a betting line on Caleb Williams' nail polish color Thursday night? Not that I'm aware of, but hey, you guys might know more about the betting stuff than I do. All right, Randall, laughing at Broski. Broski, keep overlooking the Bears. I love it. Yeah, I mean, if you're a Bears fan, that's probably what you want. You want everybody to think you're no good. You want the players and the coaches to think you're no good so they don't focus on you. I think the Bears have a real chance, but as I already said, Broski, you guys need to do something to protect that quarterback. You're going to invest in him. You need to get some offensive linemen around him. Otherwise, you have the real potential to shorten a career. All right, Phil, Green Bay is closer to here than Detroit. All right, I'll go with that. Bo, you know what too much cheese does to you? Do tell. All right, Broski, JDC, bring it! Exclamation point. Bears will maul the Lions this season. Fair enough. Randall, injuries are bad. Yes, they are. JDC, I live amongst the cheddars. There you go. Randall, injuries are a thing. Yes, they are. Randall, is it Super Bowl or bust or maybe disappointed? Yeah, there you go. Bo, JDC, yep, Bo Booth, that's where it came from. All right. Pierce, Randall, how now that they have Cousins, I think Atlanta will finally take a step. You know, they do have some real good offensive weapons. It's just obviously the quarterback position wasn't great for them. Now it seems to be repairing itself a little bit with Cousins. They've got a couple of years probably where he's going to still play at a high level. They could really challenge. They could be something in the South. All right, Randall, this year will be surprise NFC. Maybe Atlanta, maybe Philly is back. Green Bay depends on their draft. I think Green Bay is going to be solid. Philly's the real wild card. Can they emotionally bounce back from last year? Will they, all galvanize, regroup around the player base, coaching base, and, go forward? That I don't know. Bo, Buddy Love, great professor. There you go. JDC, let the war games begin. Yes, they're probably going on right now. And, you guys have heard me talk about it, and every team's a little different. You're at Tuesday. You're basically 2 days before the draft. Yesterday would have been the final, for most franchises, the final real pre-draft simulations for everything. They would have given everybody probably Saturday and Sunday off, or at least most of those days off, to let them all focus on coming into yesterday and go through the final simulations, probably for about 8 to 12 hours. And what happens here? What do we think here? Are we all on the same page with that? Today, they're letting everybody rest. Tomorrow, they'll come back in. They'll go through a lot of positional meetings, coaching meetings, scouting department meetings. They're going to put any final touches to what they went and did yesterday on the board. And then, obviously, Thursday, everything's just about the draft. All right, Michael, in the whole league or division. All right, there we go. Uncle Buzz, if Pencil Guy is still with Philly, no chance. Yeah, I don't know. Is Matt Patricia still there? I haven't really paid attention. Pierce, at the South, now that Atlanta has a decent quarterback, they could make some noise. I agree with that. They could. Let's see. Bo, not the Cowboys. Pierce, Philly, I'm intrigued to see what Kellen Moore does. All right, we'll go with that. Phil, Philly needs a coach. There you go. Bo, still Eagles and 49ers. JDC, Buddy Love, and Cheddars. There you go. Rando, I have never been this relaxed before a draft. Yeah, I mean, he really is. This is uncharted territory for Lions fans everywhere. So I agree with that, Rando. All right, Phil, what do you got? 49ers, of course. Yes, I would agree with that. Phil, I'm in Rando. This is rare air for Detroit. Never been in this position before. It's been eons. All right, let's scroll down to see any new comments here. Great segment. Thanks. I'm glad you liked it. JDC, woo, 100%. So, and just real quick before we get to the end of today's show, if you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so, making that push to get to 6,500 subs. We're about 80 away. Hit the thumbs up button. If you want to make the pilgrimage down to the Stadium Drive liquor store in Kalamazoo, Michigan, it's right off 131. It's right next to 94. Come on out. See the Sarge, Tony Libretto, and I tomorrow night, Wednesday, 6 to roughly 7 p.m. We're going to do our annual pre-draft breakdown for the Detroit Lions, for the NFC North, etc. Come out and have a little fun with it. Thursday morning, Scott DeCamp, longtime journalist, he's covered, he's covered everything in the college world for Michigan and this part of the region of the United States forever. He's done a lot of NFL stuff. He's worked for Lansing State Journal, Kalamazoo Gazette. He's been on the Huge Show. He's been on ESPN. I mean, you get it. He's been all over the place. He's going to come on sort of like Matthew did today. He's going to give us his thoughts about the draft, the Lions, etc. So hopefully you enjoyed that. I am talking with a few former NFL players about potentially coming on maybe next week, break down the draft. What are these guys looking at going through? You guys get it. Try to give you some detailed, intimate knowledge of what these new Lions are going to look at doing, going through the process, the expectations for them. What are they going to encounter? And hear firsthand from people who have been through it. A few of them maybe even played in Super Bowls and won Super Bowls. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. Working on some other stuff as well. So go enjoy your days. If there's some breaking news later today, I'll get it out to you as fast as I can. Otherwise, take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. And we'll see you all in the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, everybody.